Why are we here tonight? Well, the reason we're here obviously is because there is a need to expand the road system in the north part of our community. And I am pleased to say that as a result of the support that the voters in Broken Arrow have given to the city over the last several years through general obligation bond packages and the repurposing of the vision task for street maintenance, we are now at the point where we can actually start widening roads to accommodate all of the traffic that we experience every day, whether it's going to school, going to work, taking the kids to soccer, or going to buy groceries. In addition, there are tremendous opportunities in our community in this part of the city where expanding the roads would help improve opportunities for economic development, for the growth and expansion of some of the businesses that are existing. And so what we wanted to do tonight is to kick this off, and I can assure you this will be the beginning of a implementation of a communications plan that the city will implement over the next 6 to 7 years, because there are so many projects. Now, more specifically, which Mr. Schwab will talk about, I'm going to talk about it generally, is the city has 10 projects that we are going to be undertaking in this area over the next 6 to 7 years. One of them is a maintenance project, and the other 9 projects are actually related to some type of road widening. And so you're talking about tens of millions of dollars. Thanks to the voters of Broken Arrow, they're going to allow us to make these improvements. You're going to hear that there are actually at least 2 bridges in addition to the one that's already being replaced, which obviously whenever you're talking about bridge replacement, it's going to take additional time. So we want to hear your questions when we go into the open house type forum. I'd like to thank you for all attending. We look forward to trying to do all of these projects in a very efficient and effective and a safe manner. And not just for the citizens, but also because there are school districts involved, I should say schools within the school district, so making sure that the parents can get in and out to pick up the kids, or the buses can get in. All those things are going to be factored into our determination as to how we put together a good flow of traffic plan for both the city and the county roads. I will let you know that I was the one that picked the format that we're about to embark upon tonight, because I found when it comes to transportation projects, the best comments, the best question, the best engagement is not me or anybody that works for the city standing up here and doing a 45-minute PowerPoint. I think it's better if you have stations and you have elected officials and you have staff that can engage with each other to ask the specific questions. I would like to mention is that a part of this initiative is going to be actually the widening of the road from Kenosha to Houston to basically 5 lanes, and we're going to be adding a new bridge, and we did get federal funding for this project, and we do have Seth Buchanan from the Oklahoma Department of Transportation here. So I would like to thank Seth for being down here today, because they are a great partner, and we do good things together, so I appreciate him being here. Okay, at this time, I think we're going to move forward and have Assistant City Manager of Operations, Kenny Schwab. He has a short presentation. Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Spurgeon. Again, my name is Kenny Schwab. I'm the Assistant City Manager of Operations. So as they both said tonight, the format, which will be the second bullet item, and I hope everybody can see it. I apologize for the lighting, but I think this room is fantastic for this type of venue. So would like to point out one other thing. Broken Arrow Public Schools is represented here tonight with Rosalind Jackson, and we communicate routinely with her and her staff. So the format, as I've talked about, we've got about 6 to 8 slides to go through and talk about some of the key elements of how do we get to a project. The end result is we want the road widened, we want the bridge replaced, we want the intersection taken care of, and we want traffic moving. So that's the end result, but it takes time to get there. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So these are the roads, and as you can see, there's actually 17 that are identified. 2 of them are in the far south quadrant of the city of Broken Arrow, southwest, as Commissioner Slee said, and that would be New Orleans, 101st, and Garnett area. So the roads that we're mainly talking about are north of the Broken Arrow Expressway. The city of Broken Arrow has 9.5 miles on the screen. Tulsa County has 1.5 miles north of the expressway on the screen, and 3 major intersections. So when you do the math, you realize real quickly there's a lot of work up here in northern Broken Arrow. For those that live up here, you know that there's a lot of need. The construction technically has already started, as Mr. Spurgeon said, with Albany, 61st, just east of County Line in front of the stem. That road is closed and we're already in construction. From this time forward, you can expect 6 to 8 years, there's going to be roads under construction. When you start taking a look at how much is involved, how can we do a road that runs east-west and then another one north-south and lock you down for 2 miles? We just can't do that. So we've had to lay every project out, the whole scope of the project, and try to time it. So next slide. So let's talk first funding mechanisms. I'm going to talk about the cities real quick, and then Alex will come up and talk real quick about the county. Our funding mechanism for roadway is almost 80%, 90% bonds, general obligations bond. Mr. Spurgeon talked about the 2018 bond. We still have 2014 bond and a little bit from 2011. Almost all of our roadway money comes from general obligation bond. We do couple some of that with a surface to transportation program. It's called STP, and that's a federal mechanism. Once we get federal funds involved, guess what happens to the timeline of the project? It stretches because there's a lot of other steps you have to do, but it's a great mechanism because we get roughly 75 to 80% from federal, and then the city and the county would be the same, would only have to match 20 to 25%. So you get a lot of bang for your buck, but now you've got a long time involved. A couple of our projects do have STP, but most of it's bond. Alex?
Tulsa County, we have funding from various sources. As was mentioned earlier, our Garnett project from 101st to 91st is a Fortifix the County project. We have funding with Vision Tulsa. It was Vision and Vision Tulsa for both 101st from Memorial to Garnett, and then for 51st Street from Lynn Lane over to County Line, and the 3 roundabouts at 51st, 41st, and 31st. The funding for the 51st Street West Mile, is a combination of Vision and federal bridge money and federal STP money. So we have a hodgepodge of funding for these projects, and as Kenny mentioned, when you get the federal funding involved, it does drag out the process a little bit, which is why our east mile of 51st Street is moving quicker than our west mile. But we'll be able to talk about that in more detail in the question and answer period.
Thank you, Alex. So let's talk real quick. Next slide. Let's talk about the process. Once the government entity, the city or the county, secures their money, and that can take some time. Again, with bonds, we vote them in, but I can't sell all of my bonds. Like the 2018 bond program is $210 million. We're not going to increase anybody's property taxes, so there's only a certain amount of money that we can sell every year, and that changes. This coming year, we're projected to sell $13 million. Next year, we're actually projected to sell over $35 million. It just changes by how we retire our debt. But we can only, once we sell it, we can get into a contract and start the process of design. So our first element is design. For a typical roadway for the city of Broken Arrow, we can probably design a road in about 9 months, maybe a year. Just depends on the different elements. If there's a bridge involved or something more challenging, it takes about a year. So nine months to a year. If there are federal funds involved, that STP program that we talked about, and Albany, right out here in front of the high school, has STP on it. Alex just mentioned one of his has STP. 23rd Street, County Line, over the Broken Arrow Expressway, running from Kenosha south to Houston, has several STP funding mechanisms on it. That's why it's taken so long. Once you get an STP and it can actually be a part of the design, it takes a year to a year and a half just to clear the project for federal funds with environmental clearance. ODOT has actually handled those on our projects, and we appreciate that effort. There's not typically a cost to it. We can hire a consultant, but the time frame is still involved. The reason why? There's a public process, a hearing. We actually have one, I believe, August the 10th or 12th coming up on this project right here, Albany. So all of a sudden, your design can go from a year to almost 2 years with environmental clearance. Once you clear have that environmental clearance, and now you can use federal funds if you have it. If the design's complete, we can go right into right-of-way acquisition. Right-of-way acquisition takes typically 9 months to a year again. So on best case, no federal funds, I'm already a year and a half. It's typically closer to 2. Once I get right-of-way, now I can move the utilities, ONG, PSO, Cox, Windstream, whatever private utility may be out there. Most of the time, the public utilities, water and sewer, we leave that in the contract. We don't necessarily have to. It's the private utilities. The City of Broken Arrow, Tulsa County, neither one of us as a government entity control private entities. We do not control the process. So once we get right away and we're coordinating with these utilities throughout, then they have to schedule the work. ONG has to do their design. They have to get it approved. They have to order their materials. And right now, ordering materials takes a long time. And then they get their contractor out there. ONG alone can take 6 to 9 months. Most of the time, ONG wants to get moved before the other utilities, but we're trying to coordinate as quick as we can. So you quickly can see on the design schedule, once the money is secured, it takes at least a year to 2, depending if environmental is involved, STP, another year of right-of-way, and another year of relocation. Hey, we finally made it to construction. After all that time, we finally made it to construction. On a mile roadway, takes about a year. Year and a half if we have special elements, and we'll get into those here in a minute. We have special elements up here on the north side. Next slide. So special issues. I'm going to talk about the first couple, and then Alex can come up and talk again. Bridges. So on the projects that we're talking about, roughly north, we already have 3 bridges. So I do have the bridge over the Broken Arrow Expressway on County Line, in between Houston 81st, Kenosha 71st. That's a ODOT STP project, but that bridge is a major bridge. All the ones that are curved, we're straightening that. We also have a bridge on County Line just north of us. So as you go north on County Line, from Albany to Omaha, 61st to 51st, another bridge. So there's 2. The third bridge for us is that right now, the road is closed in front of the STEM Academy, and we actually are putting a bridge in. We are doing everything in our power, and our contractor as well, to have that road open by August the 18th. That's pretty critical. That's a school date. And this contractor is bending over backwards, and we're on schedule. Looks like that we should be paving in a couple of weeks, I believe. So those are the bridge. Next items are intersections. Every one of these that Broken Arrow has, as well as Tulsa County, has intersections. Signalized or roundabout. There's extra communication. Right now, if you're in South Broken Arrow, we have a signal right by 9th Grade Academy. Once it comes on, you flash red typically to alert the traffic that there's been a change. That'll go for another week or 10 days. But the signal element is specialized part of the design. So I'm going to ask Alex to come up and talk about the roundabout.
Well, we are planning to do roundabouts at 31st, 41st, and 51st on County Line. These will be what we call 4-lane roundabouts. Very similar to, is it Admiral and Garnett or Mingo? Mingo, yes. I could never remember which street that is. That one's been in Tulsa for as long as I can remember. It's not heavily trafficked, but it has been there, and it works very well. The positives of a roundabout are safety. First and foremost, their fatalities go down dramatically with roundabout because you do not have a T intersection. So if someone runs the intersection, you don't get T-bones, and fatalities and major injuries are greatly reduced. They also flow traffic better. Now, during rush hours, not quite as great as a regular intersection, but the vast majority of the day, the other 22 hours a day, they will run traffic much quicker. You will not have to wait at any of these intersections. And so we really feel this is going to be an enhancement to the area. They are very large, and we have foldouts over here to show you what they look like. These are large roundabouts. They take a lot of right-of-way, and so they're very expensive to build. But we think the long-term benefits are going to outweigh any downside.
Couple more things, and then we're almost ready to go to the breakout session. So another impact, schools. As I said earlier, the city of Broken Arrow works very closely with Broken Arrow Public Schools, as we do with Union Public Schools. But with Broken Arrow Public Schools, we actually meet every quarter to go over every project we have. And really, they're only interested about our transportation projects. I don't know why. But we go over every one of our projects and how it impacts them. They have projects as well, just like Union. They have projects, so we coordinate that. The other thing that we do with them is, like I said, go over the construction timing and the schedule. With this one, this area up here, North Broken Arrow, there are 9 schools. 9 schools that we are impacting with these roads. So yes, we talk ad nauseum about the timing of it. The other is business impacts. We consider that through the design process and the construction process. We want to be as minimal impact on a business as possible. So during construction, actually during design we'll talk to them, but during construction we keep them updated. Mr. Spurgeon is extremely good at updating the public, so we actually update the public on our construction, and we actually update the businesses as we go through that too. So the last thing, I believe. Now I know you can't read this, but we actually have 2 mounted documents on either side. This is every project in the northern part of Broken Arrow, so I think there's 15 projects. We've got the county and the city's project. We have every year, we have it basically bar charted out, the design, the right-of-way, the utility, and the construction. And then we can look at every project of when they're proposed for construction and make sure that we're not doing 2 roads in the same location and impacting in an adverse way. And that was the point of the bar chart that we put together. Now what we did with the bar chart, and you'll see it kind of back over here on our side, the city of Broken Arrow took GIS maps and laid out every street, and we put it in year 2021, what streets are under construction. Because honestly, the design, the right-of-way, and the utility doesn't concern the public near as much as when we get out there and construct. So we show 2021 through 2026, I believe, every year of the proposed construction of the streets. And that way you can visually see which streets that we're proposing to do. Now, like any good plan, it's subject to change. We will continue to update these probably from our end on about a 6-month basis, just to make sure if something slides. And we will have those on our website. But the point with that is so you can see the proposed construction and how it's going to impact you as a citizen, you as a business owner, and you as a parent of your children going to school in the Broken Arrow area.